Say how old you are?
Oh, I'm 88 right now.
When's your birthday?
May 22nd. And I just had it. And, well, there were some other experiences that were a lot of fun. One time a little kid looked at me and just crying his head off. And finally I said, gee, I haven't touched him or done anything. Why is he crying? And she says to me, he thinks you have spiders in your nose. So every Thursday when I had my clinic Thursday morning, I would clean my nose out pretty carefully. Another time, this is a story where I really learned a lot from a patient. I was a resident at Rochester, New York, and they let us go to these free clinics. And I just finished examining a black kid and who was healthy and everything. And the mother said, I want to show you something out in the waiting room. She says, you know, you told me this, you guys at the big medical school told me he would never amount to anything. So I went out there and he was sitting there. He had athetosis. He'd had too much bilirubin and had kernicterus. He was going like this, but in his lap he had a book and he was reading to his siblings. So that just told me something, that don't ever write anybody off like that. Titus asked me, do you have any advice for anybody really? And when I was finishing up my first 2 years in medical school, I had a year out and was doing research. And one of the faculty members that I got to know, I said, now look, I'm going into my clinical years. How can I do well? He just looked at me, he says, very simple. Figure out what people want you to expect of you to do, and then do something extra. Just always do a little extra. And that was wonderful advice.
Have you lived your life by that and your career by that?
Well, a little bit. I'm kind of lazy. Except when I wrote my book. I don't know what got into me, but I decided I had to write that damn book. The 13th edition just came out. But I didn't have time to do it during the day. So I went over to the lab at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I wrote on it from 5 until 8.
Wow.
And got it done that way.
Your book was something that wasn't ever, there wasn't ever anything that was like that book before you wrote it.
No, no, there was a big shortage of anything about birth defects. Mm-hmm. And I went to one of my resident friends who I'd helped in his career, helped to get him interested in mental retardation, actually. He went to the National Institutes of Health and he became director of the whole thing. And I was going to go on sabbatical leave to work on this book. So I decided to go down and visit him. His name was Levesque. And I went in and told him that I wanted to write this book, and I thought there was a big need for it. And he listened carefully. Then he got up from his desk and left the room. And about 5 minutes later, he came back, sat down. He says, "Would $12,000 be enough?" He was able to do that because he was head of the institute.